Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Jackson. This is Chapter 2, Section 4, Part 2. This is going to be a quick little video. In it, I want to just quickly do some practice on simplifying imaginary expressions and also take a look at some simple equations where we have imaginary solutions. Okay, so first one up is not an imaginary solution. The square root of 16 is positive and negative 4. The square root of negative 64 can be viewed as 64 times a negative 1. I'm going to probably skip this step going forward. The 64 is a perfect square, so we've got positive and negative 8i. The square root of negative 28, that is 4 times 7 times negative 1. The square root of 4 is positive and negative 2. 7 is an imperfect square, so that will remain stuck under the radical, and the square root of negative 1 is I. And finally, we've got the square root of negative 40, and the square root of negative 40 can be viewed as the square root of 4 times 2 times 5, but both 2 and 5 are imperfect, so I'll just leave that as a 10. Times negative 1, so that would be positive negative 2 square root of 10i. So out of these 4 examples, 1 had real solutions and 3 had imaginary solutions. Now what will it look like to solve a simple equation? So this first one, we've got x squared equals negative 10. I undo square with a square root, inverse operations. Whatever I do on one side, I've got to do on the other side. The square root of x squared is x. And the square root of negative 10, we're going to have, well, 10 is made up of 2 prime numbers, 2 and 5. It cannot be simplified. But do remember, and this is going to be important, that technically you have both the positive and negative square root of 10. So the square root of a number, whether it be a negative or a positive number, you're going to have 2 solutions out of that. So don't forget that. All right, next one, I've got x squared plus 10 equals negative 20. I need to get my x isolated, so I would subtract the 10 from both sides. And I have x squared equals negative 30. Undo a square with a square root. Whatever you do on one side, you got to do on the other. Square root of x squared is x equals, and let's see if we can simplify 30. That would be 2 times 15, and 15 is 3 times 5. All 3 of those numbers are prime, so you cannot simplify it. So we're going to end up with a positive and negative square root of 30i. So 2 imaginary solutions. Okay, so in this very quick video, we just did a little practice on simplifying both real and imaginary expressions. And then we looked at 2 very simple equations to solve that result in imaginary solutions. Thanks for listening. Hope this helps.